Join me as I sew this halter-neck vest. What I like most about this project is the large number of seams and side seams it has on both the front and the back, which will allow you to adjust the fit, if necessary, in a very simple way. To sew this vest, I'm going to use the Lucienne vest pattern, which originally comes with written instructions in PDF format. For this project, I've decided to use a pinstripe wool suit fabric. The pieces for this pattern aren't very large, so you could actually make the vest with less than 1.5 meters of fabric. I'll start by cutting out all the outer pieces of the vest, though I'll need to cut the lining pieces later. The button marks on the pattern indicate the position of the center front line. It's highly recommended to mark this line so that later, when we finish sewing the vest, we can place the buttons and buttonholes, as well as the 2 marks indicating the position of the pockets. To cut the lining, use the same pieces as for the vest's outer shell. You can cut it now or later when you're ready to sew it. Let's start by looking at an overview of the pieces for the vest's outer shell. For this project, I'm not going to use interfacing in general, but I will place it in a few spots on the front piece, such as the center front, so that when I attach the pockets, the area is more stable, and also in the area where the buttonhole pockets will go. If you think your fabric is very soft, you could certainly use interfacing on all the pieces. On the inside of the fabric, I'm going to mark the center front line, and then I'll baste it with a contrasting thread color so it's visible on the right side of the fabric. The first thing I'm going to do is sew the dart on the front piece. Place both sides of the dart right sides together and stitch along the seam allowance. We'll press the seam allowance toward the side, and since the tip of the dart fits into the bust area, we're going to give it a slightly rounded shape by pressing it with a sewing ham. Some fabrics respond better to ironing than others. This fabric is a bit stiff, so I'm going to pad the inside of the bust dart with a small circle of lightweight batting. I'm simply going to sew the circle to the tip of the dart, and this will help the bust look more rounded when you wear the garment. I'm sewing this piece to the tip of the dart, so no stitches should be visible on the right side of the fabric. Next, sew the front to the front side piece, placing the pieces right sides together and stitching along the seam allowance. Since the seam has a slight curve, we'll make some notches and press it toward the side. With the front sewn, we'll start assembling the back. We'll start with the two end pieces. When attaching the third side piece to the back, we have the option of adding loops to secure a knotted ribbon at the back. To do this, we'd need to cut some ribbons about 7 centimeters long and use them to create loops that we'll place according to the pattern markings. But as I said, this is optional. To make the ribbon for the loops, you can simply sew on a spaghetti strip. If you don't know how to do it, I'll include a tutorial from our blog in the description box. For now, we have both the front and the back, and this would be the time to sew on the welted pocket if we want to add it, although this is something that can be omitted. The front pattern piece has 2 marks indicating the position of the welted pocket. Connect these 2 points with a ruler, and that is the width of the pocket. Among the pattern pieces, you'll find this rectangular piece. This piece is used to finish drawing the pocket box that will hold the welted pocket. Base the outline of the box so that it is visible on the right side of the fabric. The pocket consists of 3 pieces. We'll start with the facing. On the front piece, mark a line 1 centimeter from the seam allowance and baste it so that it is also visible on the right side of the fabric. Next, we have the bottom piece, which is cut from lining fabric, and finally, the binding, which we need to press in half and again mark 1 centimeter and baste it so that it is visible on the right side of the fabric. This 1 centimeter we are marking is the seam allowance. With all these guidelines, it will be much easier to sew the pocket. Starting at the bottom, we'll position the binding so that it aligns with the basting line. The seam allowance faces upward. We need to sew a running stitch to join these pieces, and then another stitch again in the same place to attach the lining. The running stitch should lie along the box line. At the top of the box, we'll place the facing right sides together. This time, the seam allowance faces down. If the seam allowance from the previous pieces is in the way, you can trim it a little. And again, we sew a running stitch to join the piece. Now we need to cut the fabric right down the center of the pocket. When we reach the ends, we'll cut diagonally to reach the stitching. This will leave us with a triangular flap at the end. From the right side of the garment, we'll tuck the pocket pieces inward. And we'll press it to shape it. We'll join the front to the bottom of the pocket, right sides together. And next, all that's left is to sew the sides of the pocket. With the pocket positioned like this, we'll lift the side, and we'll run a stitch over the triangular flap and down to the bottom of the pocket. And with that, our pocket is finished. We'll join the front and back of the vest. And finally, the center back. To join the outer vest and the lining, the neckline must be open. But to try it on and ensure the neckline fits as needed, I recommend sewing it now and unpicking it later. Now is the time to check that the vest fits you well all over, that you don't need to make any adjustments. Although, you should have checked this first on a prototype. If everything is fine and you've chosen the neckline measurement, we'll move on to sewing the lining. To sew the lining, the center front piece is cut from the outer fabric and the rest of the pieces from the lining fabric. To sew the lining, follow exactly the same steps we used to sew the outer vest, except that you'll ignore the pocket and the back loops. Optionally, you can place a tape for inserting a boning in the backside seam that's closest to the side. This step is entirely optional. You don't have to insert a boning rod into the vest, and if you do, always use a wriggle-in type boning as they're the softest. It's just to give a little structure to the back, which doesn't have support from straps. Now we're going to join the lining and the vest by placing both pieces right sides together and running a stitching along the entire outer edge. Just a reminder that at this point, you may have already unpicked the center back seam at the neck. At the bottom of the vest's center back, We'll leave an opening of about 12 centimeters, so we can turn the garment right side out in the final step. Roughly in this area. Before turning the garment inside out, we'll remove excess fabric from the corners. And we'll make a few notches in the curvier areas so the fabric lies better later. Turn the entire garment inside out and press the entire outline of the vest thoroughly. Once again, we'll place the vest right sides together. And now, we'll align the entire neckline. When stitching along both ends of the neckline, leave a gap open. We'll start sewing about 4 or 5 fingers width from the end. And at this point, if you want the vest to have boning, insert it before stitching. After sewing it, we'll turn it inside out. The area around the neckline can be a bit tricky, but it can be turned. Again, you need to press the neckline edge. And we'll place the ends right sides together to sew the seam allowance. We'll have to close this opening by hand. By turning the seam allowance inward and sewing a few hand stitches, we'll finish that part. We'll do the same on the section we left open at the center back. And following the pattern markings and the center front reference line, all that's left is to make the buttonholes, which should run horizontally on the garment, and sew on the buttons. With all this work we've done, and it's been quite a bit, we've finished sewing the vest. At the center back, we can attach a spaghetti strap to create a lace-up effect. The vest should fit well without the strap, but this adds a decorative touch that gives it a more urban look.